Hi, welcome back to the Barrett channel. Welcome to another video. We are going to take you, well basically there's a lot of people in Chinese cities with a lot of money, and when I say a lot of money I mean a lot of money. The amount of top-end cars, Porsches, Ferraris, these kind of things you see. But this mall is for all your sort of designer clothing.
In the middle of Shanghai, in the centre.
When I drop my glasses I'll pick them back up.
In the middle of Shanghai we are right now.
Yeah, it's right in Lujiazway, and this is the sort of mall. It's predominantly women who come here because it's handbags and clothes. But literally, it's got all the designer brands you can ever wish to want to own here.
Yeah,
so,
here we are just in the front of it now. There's a reason why Chinese tourists get a bit of a name when they go abroad, because they are high spenders.
Yeah, and actually a lot of the designer stuff here, there's a government like luxury goods tax on them. So they generally sort of 20 or 30% more here. So this is why you see a lot of Chinese tourists when they go abroad, they do stock up on all their designer brand stuff.
Oh my god. 为什么?
Okay, so what we do, we just go around the other way and go in that way.
Okay. So that's the first time we've come across that here.
Yeah.
We get a lot of that in Shenzhen, but
yeah, we haven't seen it or experienced it so much here. But I don't really know what the problem is walking around a shopping centre with a camera.
Oh well, we've got a cunning plan anyway to go around the other entrance. So yeah, we'll try that one. Right, so we've managed to sneak past security
sneak past the traffic warden.
Yeah.
So this is ITC Mall, and it's it's kind of a mall that's fairly famous in a lot of the cities too. They attract all the big designer brands here, a lot of the big European designer brands and some of the American designer brands. As you can see, you got Jimmy Choo, you got Dunhill.
Hold on, let's just have a quick look around here. So we're going to shoot into a couple of the stores to hopefully show you in there if they don't get too sad about the cameras. But we've got Louis Vuitton here, we've got Cartier here.
Fendi, Dior.
Tom Ford.
Versace. There's just like another Dior store over there, Chloe over here.
If you're coming in here to buy stuff, you're not messing about, are you? Let's be honest.
You need a big wallet to come in here.
Yeah,
you need a big bank balance.
Alexander McQueen over here.
It's like women love it here. They really do, because a lot of Chinese women love especially their designer handbags. They really like their designer handbags, and they tend to like showing them off. It's almost a sort of statement of that they have money, because money, relatively speaking to people, is quite a new thing in China.
Yeah.
So if you look at Europe and America, there's families that have had a lot of money for many generations. Yeah. But in China that's not the case. It's maybe only the last 25 to 30 years that there's been quite a lot of rich people, and especially in the last 5 or 10 with like all the tech companies that have floated on the stock market. So it's pretty new here in the sense that money is not like old money like we have. So they're still in that phase where if they have money, they like to kind of show it off a bit. So they like to have a big car that they drive around. A lot of the women like you to know that they have a designer handbag, and not all. There are some that are a little bit more sort of discreet about it, but in my experience, they like to sort of show off. Oh my God, there's a Dolce & Gabbana shop just for kids there.
Oh, it's just for kids?
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, they're all for kids here. Oh man, they got a Gucci shop just for kids here.
Just for kids.
How amazing is that?
No way.
Okay, so
imagine you're buying Gucci stuff for your kids.
They're thousands. There's a Muji stuck in the middle there, which is kind of a bit out of place in the middle of Gucci and Dior.
IFC.
Yeah, IFC.
So this is the shopping mall. IFC.
IFC.
So yeah, basically we were trying to say that there's a lot to do with face here because of the society has only recently gotten very rich in terms of generations anyway. Only in the last sort of generation has China gained a lot of wealth. So it's in the culture to kind of flaunt your wealth if you've got it. So we've had time and time again where you see people trying to sort of show their wealth to you in all sorts of different ways.
I actually went to a friend's house a number of years ago, and we were in the house. And again, it's not all Chinese, but this particular house really was obviously a very big, expensive, well, as apartment. And the guy I was with, he insisted on telling me how much this cost and how much that cost. Actually, for me, coming from a Western society, I was kind of a little bit embarrassed, and I didn't really know how to react. But you know, you just have to accept that's their way. They've obviously made something of themselves, and they're very proud of that. And they just want to show you how well they've done, really.
Yeah, it's a totally different culture here because it comes down to all sorts of other things as well. You know how, like, you know, there's a lot of things that are not considered rude to discuss in Chinese culture that would be considered rude to discuss in the Western culture, which is, you know, we're only observing it, we only see it as a difference, it's not a problem. But sometimes it can make you feel a bit awkward if someone approaches you and says, look, how much money do you earn, and things like that, because I've been asked that several times and I don't really know sort of how to respond.
Yeah, generally in the West it's quite taboo. Nobody talks to each other generally about how much they earn, but it's something here that people still do.
It's also, as well, like, we'll go down to another floor. I think this one's just a food floor by the looks of it. But it's also things like talking about when you're going to get married as well, and when you're going to have kids and stuff like that.
It's like, it feels as though it's a rush to do everything. So you get a girl in her, you know, early 20s, and the parents will be like, oh, when are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? And then as soon as they're married, it's like, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a baby? That would be really not the case, you know. As a parent, like my daughter got married like 18 months, 2 years ago in the UK. And I wouldn't dream of asking them when they're gonna have a baby. It would be like so embarrassing for both me and them. But it's quite normal here.
Quite normal,
That they will ask that question. You know, you might go to dinner with a family and the mother or mother-in-law is like, okay, so you've been married a month, when are you having a baby? And then when they've had one baby, it'd be like, oh, when are you going to have another baby, you know?
I don't know what, I wonder how that's become, like, the way it's done. I don't know why sort of it's different, but it's just a very different culture. And a lot of you who have never been here probably may have never heard of this type of way of living, but it's very, like, interesting, isn't it, to see a different part of the world.
Just as you're coming down here, I see some of these models in these stores. I actually think that if you actually went out dressed like some of those models, people would think you looked a bit odd, wouldn't they?
Yeah, go on. What's the sort of the thing with designer brands?
You just wouldn't. I just wouldn't wear
this guy. If that was not a Fendi logo and it was just an unbranded suit, people would think, what on earth is that?
What is he wearing? I find it amazing they have these stores and you never see many people in them. Obviously they do have customers, but
it's one of those sorts of things where they get one purchase a day and it pays, like, you know, all the wages and overheads and more.
Actually, I used to, when I lived in Guangzhou, there was a mall there called Taikoo Wei. It was very similar to this, all full of designer shops, you know, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, all that. And I'd often see fairly young girls there, and they couldn't work because it'd be the middle of the afternoon. And they'd go and buy, you know, their whole life was about shopping, buying new handbags. And I was once sitting eating some food in a restaurant, and I saw these three women, and they'd obviously all just bought new handbags. And they spent about an hour and a half just taking selfies with their new handbags. You know, forget the food, it's all cold now, but we've got all the good selfies with our new handbags. And I just find that really strange because I'm not kind of guy that's big into brands. I used to be, but I'm really not anymore. you know, it doesn't bother me. I'll buy something if I like it. It doesn't matter whether it's got a brand on it or not. Or would that be a Montclair store there?
It's just, they've got 2 floors below still. See, this place is huge. I bet when things are back to normal, you see a lot of people with a lot of shopping bags in here, to be honest.
Mont Blanc here, Chopard, Blanche Pain watches, Jaeger LeCoultre.
I don't even know half of these brands, to be honest.
He's a big Montclair shop.
I know that one.
Again, it's,
all these places, you got a T-shirt that might cost you upwards of, you know, $700.
These are Hermes, you know, handbag starters about $2,500.
Yeah, you see some of this in the UK, but you see a lot of it here where you might get young people, like a young couple or whatever, they might be young 20s, and they're wearing about 20 grand's worth of clothes because obviously you can't assume where their money's coming from, but look, you know, it's pretty obvious that mummy or daddy is funding that half the time. You know
somebody whose mum and dad funds his lifestyle, don't you?
We've got Tiffany and Co here, look.
So yeah, it's you do get some of the younger generation here whose parents have become extremely wealthy, and they tend to live these lifestyles where they don't actually work very much. There's a big Chanel store here as well.
Let's go down.
Let's just have a look in the window of Chanel before we go. But, you know, they have these huge stores, and sometimes, you know, I often feel a little bit sorry for the people who work in these stores, because you'll get a woman who'll come in and perhaps buy a handbag, and it'll probably be as much as 6 months' salary as some of those people working at the stores. True. And I really, you know, that must sort of, I don't know how they must feel about that, really.
I know, yeah. I thought that when I went to Vietnam, especially, I was looking in the having a look in the Rolex store. Obviously, I'm not going to be buying one. But it's exactly the thought I had. I thought,
because they're not going to be paying the people that work there the highest of salaries.
No. What is it you were saying about these brands? Like, they can almost, like,
well, I reckon they could put a logo on a piece of dog mess and somebody would buy it. Oh, it's Chanel dog mess.
Yeah.
You know, because they're just so, some of these people, they're so into the brands. And I see some of these designer things like the bags and the clothes, and it looks so ridiculous to me. But these people wear it
because it's just a fashion icon, because
if it didn't have that brand on, nobody would be the slightest
You
bit
actually
interested.
see sometimes, like maybe Primark come out with a design that's, you might see something from Louis Vuitton come out a month later that looks pretty similar, but you know, people are paying like £2 grand, £2 grand from the Louis Vuitton one, and it's just like, everyone thinks it's great because it's got the name on it. It's such a weird psychology behind it.
Oh, it looks like we got some.
Oh, we're still going down. This is like 1 floor down, and we got more. It's like, oh, we got Canada Goose store over here. God, I don't really see these kinds of.
I've never seen a Canada Goose store.
No, neither have I. First time I've seen an Off-White store.
Actually, what's interesting as well is what you see in China is some of these brands that were big 20, 25 years ago in the UK have become like big here. Not so much designer, but if you look at Fila, it's absolutely massive here in China. Fila's
huge.
That, when I was young, was a big brand like 35 years ago in the UK. And then another one I noticed, Champion. That had a massive, you know, about 18 months ago, everybody here was into Champion. And that again, that is another brand that was some years ago in the UK. And then it's quite funny here because they will get sort of, they're not copy brands, but they're kind of look-alike brands. So you'll have, like, instead of Tommy Hilfiger, you'll have Tommy Red or Tommy Crown. And all the clothes are pretty much identical, but they just slightly change the logo a little bit.
I bet you like. Let's wrap this up. We hope you enjoyed this video. We kind of just, you don't always come to places like this, so we wanted to show you around probably one of the most wealthiest malls in the world, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, please let us know by dropping a thumbs up, as well as subscribing if you haven't already. Plenty of you are watching and you're not subscribed, so please hit that button. Drop the notification bells and follow our social links below.
Yeah, don't forget the Twitter and Instagram.
And we'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.
As always, take care.